While many of you have had your trade deadlines come and go, some of you still have the opportunity to trade heading into week 11. In addition to that, many of you play in dynasty leagues. A majority of my followers on sleeperu.com are in dynasty mode right now. We're going to talk about the best players to go get via trade in dynasty for the 2021 season. Acting now is critical. Going and getting players before their values climb, that's what it's all about for the Fantasy Football Show, and a big part of the content that I provide from January 1 all the way until kickoff. This year I'm kicking everything off, all of the content for 2021 here on December 1, and I'm going to give you a big taste of it tonight. We're going to break down some of the best sell high players and the best buy low players heading into 2021, and also the remaining part of the season, whether you're looking at it from a redraft perspective or a dynasty perspective. All of it coming up. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty. Take a lap. Again, Dynasty content kicks off in a major way December 1 here on the Fantasy Football Show. You can always find the show quickly by going to Smitty1.com. And don't forget to order a phone call from me right now at HeySmitty.com. And your rankings and everything at SleeperU.com. So let's get into the best players to trade away, which will open the door on the conversation for what players are players to buy low now in Dynasty, in redraft, and Dynasty with a redraft mentality, while still taking care of and catering to your Dynasty future and prospects. Let's go. Okay, so first, what players are the best players to trade away? And what are the best players to acquire? So this side's going to be the players that I think are the best players to go shop right now and get the most bang for your buck. Now, I want to interrupt and just make a point here that if I put a big name player on this list of trading away that I like, that does not mean that I doubt the player. Sometimes we have to put players we like on the trade block because their value is at an all-time high, and you can go still buy players you like a lot that are at a discount now. It's called buying low and selling high. It's the oldest trick in the book for accumulating a team that you probably shouldn't have based on your trade acquisitions and everything you're doing as a manager. So I'll make note of what players fall into the category of like, I love them, don't sell them low. I think the first player I want to toss out here is a guy that's had bad value up until right now, and everybody's excited about him, and that's Nick Chubb. And I do like Nick Chubb. I would not sell him low. This is an example of a player that I do like, but I think his long-term prospects in my mind are loaded with a bunch of risk, situational risk, with Kareem Hunt, with the fact that they do love using both running backs. I think they can coexist, but it presents a long-term problem. You also have injury risk with him. There's a lot of reasons to be worried, multiple reasons to be worried, multiple red flags. Maybe we'll put 2 asterisks by him to represent 2 levels of risk, injury and situation. And I think that if you can sell him at like second round equivalent, or buy low on 2 players that could potentially climb into second round value, might be a great move in Dynasty, might be a great move in redraft if you're still able to make moves in your league. But from a Dynasty perspective, I'm trading running backs more than I'm trading wide receivers away on the high, because wide receivers last longer. Dynasties are built around players like Pat Mahomes, who have longevity, around players like Josh Allen, who have longevity, around wide receivers like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, even Mike Thomas, who's still got a lot of time left. These players, in my opinion, are better to go get. Now, I don't trade Chubb straight up for a player that's ranked lower than Chubb. The first guy that comes to mind that I really, really like in Dynasty, and I think his value is really low, a lot lower than it should be right now, is Ridley. While people know Ridley's got a ton of talent, and while people do know that there's some risk with Chubb, I think there's a lot of opportunity to try and add like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's a lot of opportunity to try and add like a Jonathan Taylor You won't get both, but maybe you could get, you know, one of these guys with Ridley. It's something to think about if you can weather through the running back swap for wide receiver, the cross position trading. And Ridley's just a guy that I see as safer in Dynasty with a lot of longevity. Same thing with DK. So if you're to trade Chubb for DK coming off a bad game, people freak out. You may not land this. The DK owner might love DK, and for good reason, so you might not be able to pull this off, but it's something to think about. Or you could trade Chubb for, you know, like Evans, and probably, and maybe a Mark Andrews. People are freaking out right now about Mark Andrews. Or if not Andrews, you know, you could even go Lamar. You could do some kind of quarterback sidestep. Chubb has a lot of value right now. People are excited about him, and again, for good reason. And I do like Chubb, but in Dynasty, especially in Dynasty where you're looking out for the future more than you are looking out for the now, Chubb is a good player to trade on the high before he hits another stumbling block or roadblock like injury, and then you can't even get one piece of these that I'm talking about over here. You can't trade Chubb straight up for Evans or Chubb straight up for Ridley. I think Connor, I think Chris Carson, I think Keenan Allen, who I like this year. I don't trade him in a redraft mode if you're trying to, you know, get crafty and use Allen to get two players. It's something to look into, something worth doing if the price is right. But this one's more of a Dynasty one. This one's redraft and Dynasty, but all three of them, I would say mostly I'm thinking Dynasty here. I think I throw Mixon in here. Now, in the case of Mixon, in the case of Carson, you've got to wait for these guys to come back in the remaining part of this year. Now, if you're in a Dynasty league, you probably do have a lot longer trade opportunity, a trade window. A lot of Dynasty leagues don't shut down trading. A lot of redraft leagues end in week 10 or week 11. That's why we're still talking about this topic, because a lot of people still can trade right now. And if you can't, this video should still help you think about the players moving forward if you own multiple players here, and you can kind of get a sense of who you should you know, start if you're in a dilemma with some of these guys on the same team. But Mixon, to me, once he gets back and does anything of note at all, same thing with Carson, I'm sending these guys over for something immediately in a Dynasty league. I do not hold Mixon, I do not hold Carson for very long. I think Connor, he had some shaky value heading into 2020. He's rebounded a little bit, but if you think he's going to stay, you know, running back 1 or high-end running back 2 relevant for multiple years, I think you might be disappointed. And Allen's getting older. I don't trade him low. I really like Allen. He's in a great spot. Herbert's there. Herbert loves him. This is a great situation for him. This is the one player out of all of them that I don't sell unless the price is exactly right, but people are excited about him. You could probably get a haul for him, and you just got to go buy low shopping and get multiple players. I think in all these situations, I could say that, you know, Josh Allen would be a great move in Dynasty, because again, it's so important when you're building a Dynasty to factor in the longevity of a Mahomes, the longevity of a Josh Allen, the longevity of a Herbert. There are so many players that people overlook in redraft, but when you get into a Dynasty mindset, you have to take into account how many years you're going to get with this player. And Allen is a great buy low right now. Herbert, you probably have to overpay. I don't know that Herbert's going to be a good buy low, but Allen certainly would be, and you can get something else. So if you're trading Mixon for Allen, you typically can get more, because in a startup Dynasty draft, Allen's going a lot later than Mixon. He's going a lot later than all these guys. So you should be able to get something thrown in. Now, what do I target here? So if this is the anchor of my trade, I'm going to, of course, lock that part in, and then this is what's to be decided. So I go to this owner and I say, what does the Mixon owner have at wide receiver? What do they have at tight end? What do they have at running back? This Mixon owner might have Andrews, so you put Andrews in here. Maybe they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now you'd have to give up more. You wouldn't get this probably straight up, but maybe you could throw in a player right here that's doing really well that we're not too fond of for the future. Like, I don't know, maybe a Deontay Johnson. Maybe a Crowder. something like that to pair with Mixon to make this a capable addition to the trade. But I think in Dynasty you'll frequently find that if you cross position trade with a player like Mixon, Carson, Connor, you're probably more likely to get the owner to see the value and ignore the risk. When you're talking about a running back for running back swap, let's bring it down here as an example. So let's say you're trying to get rid of Carson, and if you go straight for a running back like, let's say, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're going to get this Clyde owner, you're trying to acquire Clyde, you're going to get this person to just look at all the risk. They're going to sit there and go, player for player, I can pretty much put both players on each side of the scale, and while he's very, very risky, he's still the #1 in his offense. There's no question about that. It's a potent offense. Oh my God, the Seahawks can be up and down. Who knows if Carson's going to be the guy? You have the other owner able to look at this clear-headed, almost measuring exact pound for pound on the trade. Whereas if you trade cross position, where you do it like this, so Carson for Allen and Clyde, and you add in something like Crowder or a Deontay, or even if we throw in like a Ronald Jones, like I would do Carson and Rojo, who has a ton of value right now to trade. I would do that in a heartbeat for Allen and CEH, which you may not be able to pull off in every scenario because you're trying to win a trade, people. We're not in the business of doing an even Steven deal. So these trades oftentimes should look like, oh my God, I don't think I could pull that off. What do you expect me to do? Show you a trade where everybody's breaking even, you kick me in the nuts, I kick you in the nuts, we both walk away a little worse off from doing the trade. I'm gonna give you a trade that's kind of hard to reach for. And if you think back in your league, how many times does somebody do a trade that, you know, you're like scratching your head, like, why did they do that? I can't believe that. What a horrible trade. You're trying to be this guy that says, let's do this trade. You do it, and then the whole league's like, what the hell? You know, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So, you know, I know in the comments someone's going to say, no one in my league would do that. We're supposed to be doing stuff that aren't easy sells. Part of it is in your negotiation tactics, which we're going to go over all off-season long in a bunch of stuff and a bunch of videos that I have cooked up for you to help you with that, to help you with the delivery, to help you with there are situations where you're going to pull this off based on your delivery, or you're going to fail to pull it off based on your delivery. So delivery is super important, but this is what we got to get you thinking. Like, Rojo is a must sell right now in Dynasty because I don't think he's ever going to retain the value he has right now. There's almost zero chance he becomes some long-term Dynasty prospect. This is just the beginning. I wanted to give you guys a little taste of what the 2021 content's going to look like here on the Fantasy Football Show. So buckle up and get ready. It's going to get intense here. We're going to be talking Dynasty through the roof. Everybody that's been looking for Dynasty content all off-season long from a video perspective, it's here.
It's here, baby.
And it starts December 1, and then we're gonna ramp it up into January 1 when I start breaking down all the rookies. But Dynasty doesn't mean I'm not doing a lot of redraft moving forward. I'm giving you the same amount of redraft content that I've been giving you. I'm just doubling down on my content, and you're gonna see the same kind of content from a redraft perspective, now from a Dynasty perspective. And a lot of my videos will contain both so that we can cover a topic like Clyde right now and Clyde in the future, or Carson right now and Carson in the future. Subscribe, follow, tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell everybody. Get on over to sleeperu.com for rankings, bold predictions. Get on over to heysmitty.com if you want to order a phone call from me. And if you ever get lost, smitty1.com. But subscribe on your way out and hit that notification bell. Let's get to it.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty.